Most terrifying sound heard around the world. Isn't that the Aztec death screech thing? Thanks for the resub work.
In 2016,
sounds not
several
that
diplomats,
scary.
CIA operatives, and their family members began reporting terrifying health problems after hearing a strange sound. All of these people were either American or Canadian, and all of them, at some point, were working or living in Havana.
I hope
The
someday
symptoms
we
of these
discover an
alleged
actual
illnesses
brown
were
note that
very
makes you shit
strange and
yourself when you hear it.
scary, and no one has yet been able to identify why they happen or where they came from. But over time, more people have begun suffering from the symptoms, and its effects have started to reach way beyond the small confines of Havana. The case is one of the world's strangest modern-day mysteries, and includes links to surveillance, espionage, political posturing, and dark and mysterious brain-altering forces.
What?
This is the terrifying mystery of the Havana Syndrome.
There will not be, under any conditions, be an intervention in Cuba by United States Armed Forces.
JFK, what's up?
Government will do-
Relations between Cuba and the US have been
Thanks for resub,
tense
Henny.
for a long while.
Prime brisket.
During their patchy past, the two countries have battled and postured over invasions, revolutions, embargoes, and much more aggression and antagonism. From the Bay of Pigs to the Cuban Missile Crisis, to
I
fears
remember
about
those in
both
school.
communism and capitalism, it's been a rough ride. But in 2015, the two countries decided to put their difficult past behind them in an attempt to improve relations.
Let's go!
In the same year, the US Embassy in Cuba reopened, re-establishing the
Prime
Havana base
ski and
that had been
Best
closed since 1961. And all
Who
seemed
killed
well
JFK? DB Cooper.
until late 2016, when several of its staff began reporting terrifying and bizarre health problems. Their families were also affected, along with CIA operatives and their families.
Representatives for those diplomats now claiming some Americans suffered traumatic brain injuries and permanent hearing loss at the U.S. Embassy in Havana.
Is it flooding behind him? Did I see that correctly? Is there just like a flood behind him? Or is there like a little moat built around this building? No, that is absolutely just a flooded street. Yeah, there's a street light right here. Well, that's second only to the scary sound.
Some suddenly felt as if they were driving fast in the back of a car, with pressure mounting in their heads and ears. Others lost the ability to hear properly, while some experienced speech problems and balance problems.
Jesus Christ.
The attacks were always accompanied by some sort of noise, but the interpretation of this noise was always different. Some people heard low hums, others heard shrill pitches,
Ah!
and some heard oscillating thumping sounds.
Well, that was probably just the neighbors fucking. That doesn't
Most
sound
of
like
the
anything.
attacks were very intense and overwhelming. One victim, when describing it, said, "I went from feeling completely fine to thinking, oh, something's not right, to being very, very worried
All from a
and actually
sound?
thinking I was going to die."
I woke up in the middle of the night because I had this incredible case of vertigo. It felt almost as if I was in some kind of, carnival ride. And I'll tell you, Catherine, I'd spent years in war zones of Iraq and Afghanistan. I'd put my life on the line. This was the most terrifying experience of my life. I had no control.
Pressure
God
in the
damn.
head,
Yes,
loss of balance,
yes,
ringing in the ears.
yes. I mean, I've had a headache for 3 years. It feels like a vice clamp down here, and then there's pressure that comes over the top of my head.
Mark says it took 3
Have we checked the back
years
of his
to
head?
get
Maybe there
help
is a
at
vice
the
clamp
Walter
back
Reed
there.
Military Hospital.
They diagnosed me with a traumatic brain injury. It's on paper. I have it.
One of those
Oh, we saw that
affected
one stoned.
now allegedly wears a hearing aid full time, or have no memory of chats they've
The
had only
scariest
5
noise
minutes
I
earlier.
ever heard? I don't know.
So, what caused these
I have to
symptoms?
think about it.
And why are they only happening to embassy staff, CIA employees, and their families and children? What exactly was happening in Havana? And who was responsible for it?
This is interesting. Is it going to be a really unsatisfying conclusion? Like it was just the sound of frogs mating or something?
At
and it was
first,
just gross?
US investigators assumed that the Cuban government was behind the attacks. But in an official statement, they denied any responsibility claiming, quote, Cuba has never, nor would it ever, allowed that the Cuban territory be used for any action against accredited diplomatic agents or their families without exception. In 2019, Canadian staff were removed from the Canadian embassy after at least 14 staff members reported similar symptoms.
Did anyone record
Lots
it
of
with
U.S.
their
officials
phone?
were convinced that their people were being targeted and attacked by Cuban authorities. Donald Trump, who was president at the time, agreed, saying, quote, I do believe Cuba's responsible. I do believe that. It's a very unusual attack, as you know, but I do believe Cuba is responsible.
It's radiation, not a sound.
And it's easy to see why this was the first theory.
Exhibits, Aaron.
Historically, there's been a huge amount of harassment
Really
between
ghosty.
US spies and agents and their Cuban counterparts. Cuban authorities have pointed cameras at their homes. They've also broken into their houses, defecating in their toilets, leaving
Nice.
cigarette butts in their ashtrays,
Good
and
shit.
intentionally leaving behind other obvious signs of intrusion. Some speculate that they even tried to poison their pets.
Oh, that's too far. Stick to shitting in
But
toilets.
amid all the speculation and controversy,
That's a fun prank.
Cuban officials helped US authorities with their investigations. They agreed that the attacks were happening, and they too wanted to find out what was occurring
I
and why.
believe it, Ghosty. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if
Because
that's
they
to
were
me.
so willing to help, it would seem that Cuba wasn't responsible after all.
Exit tier
Suspicion
one
then fell
Sin
on
Whistle and the
rogue
Prime
Cuban
team.
groups. Could these attacks have been orchestrated by Cuban rebels who were angry about the blossoming positive relationship between Cuba and the USA? Another unusual theory was pesticides.
Oh,
During the period over which the Havana syndrome symptoms were being reported, the Cuban government had been spraying lots of insecticides
Is the recept
to curb the
penetrates?
spread of the Zika virus.
oh, I'm getting itchy
But
just
here's
thinking
where
about it.
things
God
get
damn it.
crazy, and where most of these theories fall short. The Havana syndrome might have started in Havana, but its impact and influence soon moved away beyond Cuba's capital. Cases started popping up in other parts of the world,
Is the recept
and most theories
Azul.
and explanations became completely obsolete.
What if it was an attempt to create the brown note? That's what I like to believe. I still think we're very close to a breakthrough in that technology.
The Havana syndrome soon started spreading way beyond
There's the
Havana,
Prime Vox.
and US citizens who had never been in Cuba began to experience similar symptoms and effects. In 2018, a female employee at the US consulate in Guangzhou began suffering from almost exactly the same symptoms, and after an analysis of her condition,
Brown
she
note is
and
a
at least two
noise
more
that
US
makes you
citizens
shit yourself when you
were
hear
removed
it.
from China. At a similar time,
Right now,
an
it's just a
employee of
myth,
Tashkent's
but I
US
think it could
embassy
be
in
real.
Uzbekistan started suffering from the same symptoms. While previous attacks in Havana have all happened indoors, these attacks happened outdoors. So it seems that the rules have changed, and these terrifying attacks are no longer limited to homes or hotels.
There's the recept
Whoever is
Waluigi
behind
and
this
Dilly.
can now seemingly do so anywhere. At least 3 CIA operatives have experienced these types of symptoms since 2020 election, and there are now over 100 cases around the world, with many of them unrelated to Cuba or Havana.
I guess it could be experimental
Similar attacks
technology
have
from
happened
like
to other US intelligence
Goat
personnel
Man. I don't know.
in
I don't know
Russia,
who would have
Poland, Georgia,
Probably not Goat
Australia,
Man.
and Taiwan. They are becoming more frequent, more widespread, and more scary. Is it possible that someone is using some kind of weapon that leaves behind no trace?
Yeah, like the Death Note or some shit. It's the gnomes. All true.
One of the most
Like
popular
Prime
theories is that these symptoms are a result of some form of radio frequencies or
True vegan.
electromagnetic
Thanks to Prime Chad and
pulses.
Resub Kirby.
The most common speculation is that microwave energy is the root cause. During the Cold War, American scientist Alan Frey
Hey,
discovered
Alan.
that you could direct microwaves at human heads in order to produce the illusion of sound, even in deaf people.
Thanks
The
to Resub
Soviets
Finny.
found out about Frey's research and flew him to Moscow to learn more. Historically, Russia and the Soviet Union have been very interested in this type of sonic research, and how this terrifying mind-altering technology could be applied to warfare.
Yeah, I feel
A
like sound would be a
1976
really
report on
effective
Soviet
weapon
research
for
into
like 5
microwaves
seconds before they
details
put on
experiments
earmuffs.
conducted on animals.
But up until then,
In these
got
experiments,
'em.
microwaves were used to irrevocably damage the brain makeup of mice. It's therefore clear that microwave weapons can be used to manipulate bodies and minds. And as is often the case in the worlds of warfare, power struggles, and politics, if something can be done, it
Thanks for the 5
probably
gift subs,
has
Goose.
already
Appreciate
been
it.
done. But despite all this research, and despite all the people claiming that microwave devices are the root cause of the Havana syndrome, no devices have ever been found. Investigators searched the homes, hotels, and hotel rooms where these attacks were occurring, but could find no devices and no signs of suspicious
This
activity
type of sound is
or
a type of targeting you can't
interference.
block. Alright, defeatist. I
Some
already thought of a
researchers then began to
counterplay.
speculate that the
Lead
symptoms weren't being
sunglasses.
created by sonic devices.
Easy. Helps with x-rays.
After
Surely it'll
undertaking
block
brain scans,
microwave. Fucking pussy
investigators
waves.
discovered that some of the sufferers had physical damage to their brains. And as far as we know, it's impossible to cause physical trauma to a brain by using sound. Brain damage and concussions? It's not possible, said Joseph Pompey, a psychoacoustics expert. Somebody would have to submerge their head into a pool lined with very powerful ultrasound transducers. Because of all of this uncertainty, some skeptics have come up with a much different explanation. And it is just as strange and just as disturbing.
Oh, prankster, eh? It was all a ruse. We've been lied to again. Damn it. Or was it 5G? Ooh, boy. Could be anything.
So strap yourself in, because this is where things get weird. Some skeptics claim that all of these symptoms are nothing but mass hysteria, much like the dancing plagues, laughing plagues, and other mass delusions that have occurred historically in other parts of the world.
I'm not sure,
Throughout
Tori.
history, there have been many other cases of collective mass hysteria, in which people have exhibited mental and physical symptoms brought on by fear, stress, and panic. And some people believe that the Havana syndrome can be explained in exactly the same way. For example, in Belgium, 1999, around 100 people reported illnesses after drinking Coca-Cola. But these
I
symptoms
fucking knew
of
it.
illness were proven to be nothing but a mass delusion. Similarly, in 1962, in the African village of Tanganyika, over 1,000 children were involved in a laughing hysteria, in which they couldn't stop laughing for several months.
Whoa, what?
Again, this was proven to be psychosomatic, and was attributed to high levels of stress. In Europe,
a couple
between
months?
the 14th and 17th centuries, there were many dancing epidemics, in which people would dance until they became exhausted or injured, or even until they died. Some
What a way
experts
of
think
going
these
out.
dances were caused by stress or fear. Others believe that many people joined in simply because they didn't want to feel left out.
Thanks, Resub Millie.
Sound-related symptoms and illnesses have occurred in several places around the world, including England, New Mexico, Ontario, and Indiana.
Thanks, Resub Zwangy.
Some people in these places believe they can hear constant sounds, and this belief causes intense physical and mental reactions, both real and imagined. There's even a so-called World Hum database dedicated to finding these hums throughout the world, and providing explanations for why they happen, or at least why people think they happen. These types of mass hysteria episodes
Thanks, Resub
usually
Comfy.
happen in people who feel stressed, powerless, and worried. And as we've covered, US representatives in Cuba were frequently targeted and attacked by Cuban officials, which would have led to high levels of stress and concern.
That would be pretty stressful, I imagine. But would it make them want to dance?
But what about the
Question we
evidence
have to
of
ask ourselves.
concussions? How can psychosomatic illnesses cause concussion-like injuries to the brain? Well, some scientists believe that this type of physical trauma doesn't always need to occur because of a physical cause. Strangely, these types of abnormalities can be seen in brain scans of people with chronic pain, depression, trauma, and other illnesses. So, are the victims really just suffering from mental illness brought on by their own fear, stress, and paranoia?
Good question.
According to one researcher, that's exactly what happened.
Do you
This
think there
case
was
is
ever an
packed
orgy
with unanswered
hysteria?
questions.
Good question.
First, why is
Not
the
sure.
Havana syndrome only affecting CIA operatives, embassy staff, government representatives, and their families?
Were there no locals that
Why,
got it?
according to US authorities, have FBI investigators never been given the CCTV footage they asked for. They allegedly requested access to the hotel's security footage, but never received any of it. Why do most people involved in the investigations ask to remain anonymous?
Well, because aren't they literal spies and shit?
The
I
CIA
think that makes
and the
sense.
NSA have been intercepting intelligence and conducting various investigations for a long time, but haven't been able to find any concrete evidence or clues that point to who's to blame. Even now, in 2021, US officials have made these investigations a priority and are still trying to work out how these attacks happened and where they come from. During many of the attacks, Russian operatives have been very close to the people experiencing the symptoms. On 2 occasions, they were in the very same hotel as those who were
Oh
being
my
attacked.
god. Some shit right out of a
And
video
as already
game.
mentioned, Russia and the Soviets have shown interest in this type of weaponry, at least according to online sources.
Cause that fucking asshole Allen, huh?
Russia denied these accusations, saying, quote, "We sympathize with our colleagues and wish them good health. We believe that it is immoral and low to launch anti-Russian speculations. Fictions about some psi rays are beyond common sense."
The fact that he used psi rays tells me he's behind it. That must be what they call it internally. Case closed, I solved
Because
it.
of all the secrecy and uncertainty around the Havana syndrome, there are lots of theories about what is happening and who is responsible. Perhaps the Havana
Maybe some
syndrome has
koala,
all been
scooter,
manufactured
true,
by
and tier
Cuba,
one Dubuardo.
or some group with links to Cuba. Or maybe by someone that wants to damage the relationship between Cuba and the USA. Some people even think that the CIA or the FBI are attacking their own people in order to stir up war.
Oh, we
So
do like
might
that.
US forces be behind these
That
attacks?
makes sense. Don't know, Hijo. That was interesting. You keep saying you've experienced it called the Windsor hum. Am I supposed to look that up? Isn't it just going to be the same thing as this? I don't think this is the same thing. Just off of this one line, this doesn't sound like the same thing, especially now with this guy leading the charge. But I have no doubt that it's probably an annoying sound. You should watch Violet first. Why? Kid Pickaxe's Fortnite Monopoly board game. I think I'll have to pass. Okay, I'm gonna go fill up my water though. Thanks to tier 1 Laura, nice pants. Back in just a sec. I'm back. Goodwill Mail Karen. Oh, it's this guy. I've seen this video. Yeah, he's a real goofball. This guy. I've already seen it though. Rude ghost likes to flirt with girls. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Hey,
I'm
Ghost
wasting
Hunters
my
fan.
fucking time. Second video down. I'll pass. I don't really like that show. It's also all fake. I want to go ghost hunting. I think it'd be very fun. Bot writes Batman movie.
Wayne, sometimes Batman, all times orphan.
That's pretty fucking hardcore.
Batman, this is now a safe city. I have punched a penguin into prison. Alfred, Batman's loyal battler.
Seems pretty nice. I don't feel like just reading the Twitter post though. Thanks to Resubakami. Third one. AI scripted Batman. This.
Batman. Batman
Oh, I
stands
see.
next to his Batmobile and uses his Batcomputer. He's sometimes Bruce Wayne, sometimes Batman, all times orphan.
This is now a safe city.
Yeah, I see.
Punched a penguin into prison.
Alfred, Batman's loyal battler, carries a tray of Gotham. Eat a dinner, Mattress Wayne. An explosion explodes. Joker is a clown, but insane. Two-Face is a man, but attorney.
This is pretty solid. This would be a really good comic series.
And One Face. They hate me for being a bat.
Batman throws.
I'm 100% sure though they never actually make a bot do any of that. It's just like just, I don't even know how to explain it, but I highly doubt it's a fucking bot. I think they just make it themselves, make it seem very silly. Japan's poorest idol group? What?
And a combined net worth of minus $1.5 million.
Holy
It's
shit.
Japan's newest pop group. Once in a while, you hear a concept so ridiculous, you have to slam your fingers in the door just to check you're actually awake. Singing and dancing their way out of 127 million yen of debt, the girls will be working under the producer's bold premise that even people with big debts have big dreams. Which is strange for me because
what an
I just
interesting
think people with
idea.
big debts couldn't afford to have dreams. And naturally, fans will be able to keep a track of each member's cumulative debts, racked up through a variety of ways, including bankrupt parents, student loans, and of course, too many trips to amusement parks and spas. And whilst the group leader has only managed to rack up a pitiful $64,000 of debt through student loans,
oh, that's
the group's most
nothing.
indebted member, Mami Nishida, will be looking to pay off $915,000 of debt after her parents' business went bankrupt. Although if her parents' business hadn't gone bankrupt, then she wouldn't be in the group. So every cloud has a silver lining. It doesn't. And in an already saturated idol group market, they're about to unveil a new group name, and no doubt it'll be something unique and relevant to the overall concept.
What does that say?
Or
let's
they'll call
go!
themselves the Margarines, because what they're doing, in essence, is like imitation butter. And
wow, this is deep.
The margarines. Members have to abide by strict no dating clauses in order to maintain an innocent image for the fans.
True.
And the world witnessed the consequences of breaking such rules last year when Minami Minagishi, a member of Japan's biggest girl group, literally and metaphorically Japan's biggest girl group, AKB48, was seen leaving a building with a guy and went on to apologise by shaving off her hair and producing a high-definition apology filled with a river of tears and despair.
She did a full Britney Spears?
The only rule they have is to sell 10,000 records. Outside of that, they're free to do whatever they want. And whilst that's undeniably good from a human rights perspective, and their shot at redemption will enable them to work harder than other idols. Which is absolutely true, they have nothing to lose, except their dignity and even more money. To me though, the concept...
No, you can't lose
seems a bit
even
wrong.
more
I like to
money.
think people start bands for a passion for music. So the best thing about this band is the simplicity.
Yeah, the idol industry is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Damn, Chris is killing it.
To me though, the biggest question still remains whether or not they'll be able to pay off their debts. Although it is worth remembering that Japan has the second biggest music market in the world after the US. A market where 85% of sales still come from CDs.
Jesus.
And current popular idol groups such as AKB48 often encourage fans to go out and buy more than one copy, inflating sales.
Wow, I have the money.
But if the Margarines can convince their new fans, if such fans exist, to go out and buy their new album in December, titled
That's a good title.
Heaven, then maybe the title of the album might become a reality. Goodbye Debt Heaven, an album that certainly doesn't beat around the bush with regards to its motives. It's probably why my favourite group is Chubbiness, an actual group called Chubbiness, filled with girls who are specially selected for being overweight. And the members of Chubbiness are so fat, it's incomprehensible. That is, if the definition of fat was not to be fat at all. But Chubbiness is a bedtime story for another time. Just be sure to go out and buy more than one copy of Goodbye Debt Heaven when it comes out this December, because those student debts and those spas, they don't pay for themselves.
Damn, the idol industry is so fucking weird.
Is this a group? Please leave your comments and questions below. And
is this
let us know
it?
the answers to all these questions.
I need to listen to
regular
some.
updates, photos, and videos. Follow Abroad in Japan on Twitter and Facebook. And why not follow the brand new Vine channel?
Please
with clips
resubscribe.
like this. United Club.
Okay, let's check out the Margarines. Also, then I kind of want to watch this one. Okay, this is from 6 years ago. Does it slap? Well, it doesn't seem like things went super well, at least judging by that. This reminds me of something you'd hear in elementary school. I don't really like this. There's no energy there. That screams, I'm in debt and desperate. Give me something with some, like, fucking actual energy. Come on now. What else do they have? Gotta wait for the chorus at least? Yeah, I guess I owe it that. Wait, it sounds like a Christian gospel. Not impressed, not impressed. Let's watch this.
Now this might offend many people, especially weeaboos, but I honestly do not like the idol culture in Japan.
That's not really a hot take.
At all. Of course, I don't have an issue with these girls individuals. I actually find them really attractive and talented. But I don't like how the industry treats them, friendly and flawless women in this country. And many their agencies just want to sell that artificial
Johnny and
image
Associates.
and often strictly over-control the idols. For example, even if they did nothing wrong, they are still forced to apologize. Just like South Korea, where many K-pop stars have been taking their lives. I have to say Japan has a similar issue. Most of them face tremendous pressure to quit and was hit with a reply from a staff member. 次また寝ぼけたこと言い出したらマジでぶん殴る。Now it's actually
Damn,
not
what the
so
fuck?
common in this industry.
今考えると大丈夫なのかなっていうのも、そのデビュー前になんか深夜練習も高校生の子とかいて、深夜練習って高校生の子ってやっていいのかなっていうのがあったんですけど、アイドルの業界がそもそもみんな初めてで、
I'm sure it's bad.
デビュー前は研修生として何万とか何十万とか払ってたんです。
Jesus Christ, most videos don't fucking have subtitles on. The creator has to individually go in and add these himself. Most people don't do that. Usually if they're gonna take the time to put these here, they just put it in the video. Sorry, I didn't think to check. Christ. I don't care if you said it, I didn't fucking hear him! Holy shit! Bunch of goddamn nerds sitting in the front row listening to every goddamn sentence from the teacher. Sorry, I was probably reading something from chat when he said it. Holy fuck.
なんか私は個人的にはお父さんとかも一緒に契約を聞きに来たんですけど、お父さん的にはっていうなってたんですけども、私その時20歳だったんですけど、もうデビューしたいみたいな、そろそろデビューしないと本当にやばいよっていうなんか焦らせちゃって、
Why don't they ever just name the companies? I imagine it's Johnny and Associates.
してもらったんで、まあ私がもうデビュー
There's no risk anymore if they're not associated. Name every one of them. Certainly there has to be a couple good ones. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure they do any idol. Because they're the biggest one in Japan. Yeah, I don't see anything about that. But I'm also not seeing any like females on the roster, so I guess it's just understood that they only do men. Hopefully it's a good idol group and she doesn't just do what the last one did.
私の夢を叶えてもらえたらなっていうので、今の目標はそこにアイドルの活動の楽しさを感じてもらえたらなって思ってますね。
Age of consent in Japan is 13. Yeah, but apparently that's not like a real law. It's still like 18, I think. I don't know. I remember reading about that on stream once when I found that out. Apparently they don't actually believe that it's 13 even in Japan. That's just what's written in the laws. Or something. I don't know. It's been a while.